Hello and welcome back to another phenomenal interview and show of True That. Thank you for joining again this week. We have been on fire with the most amazing, powerful people. And I'm telling you, me and Caroline are starting to nod our heads. We're starting to there's an interesting theme that's going out there right now. And I think that, evolutionary people are moving and pushing themselves through very uncomfortable times. I think the world is in a bit of an uncomfortable state and it's shaking us up inside. And we are literally, I'm seeing people evolve and then they come to this place of not knowing not knowing where to get that next step because people are really stepping out of the box. And Elizabeth Larson is joining us today. And this woman is a vast amount of, she's like a multi-business person, and she's going to share her story of the many different, just the very many different lead-ins to what it is that she's doing now. And I don't want to burst that bubble for anybody. But Caroline, when I think about the kind of stuff that we've gone through in the last year and a half, or even in our years of meeting each other, back to that first trade show in Australia, when you came off completely exhausted after like a 48-hour carnival ride to get yourself from Canada to Australia. And I was in uncharted territories. We were just about to embark on an 11 flight, 13 hotel, 5 trade show with 5 other women who we didn't know, and we didn't know each other. And we ended up meeting. If you think that was only like 4 years ago. If you think about the evolution of just our 4 years together, what I've known you've gone through as a businesswoman, as a parent, myself included, and you think about those things that change your life, some things you can't even plan. And when I think about and listen to Elizabeth's story about how she I always say I came from not have to having, to sometimes not having to having, and pushing to that next level of having. And there's these pivotal moments, these like you call it, these times that molded you. I think they mold you for what you need to do there. And then you start to get this jacket I need to donate this jacket away to, and go get a new jacket. Those times I'm going all over the place, but the bottom line is those pivotal molded times. I don't know what comes to mind. I know some of your stories. So it comes to mind. What's some of that for you?
Well, first thing, only 4 years.
Yeah.
I have the impression it's been a lifetime, and not because you bring so much emotion and energy, not just because of that, but so many things change. Like I feel like my life in the last 10 years, everything is like super powered or something like that. It's funny because as we were in the pre-interview talking with Elizabeth and you and I felt like, when I was little, no, let's backtrack to now. Okay. I feel like now I'm surrounded by such people, like such amazing people, powerful women, interesting men, intelligent men, and intelligent women as well. But I feel like I'm telling myself the world is really getting better. We're going to a really great place because I'm surrounded by all these amazing people. But now I realize, no, the world is still going around. I just surrounded myself with, the best of the best. And now it's like my standards are different. I'm attracting different people. But I remember when I was young and younger, being in situations of like, oh my gosh, everyone is messed up. Where are we going as a society? And, there's no tomorrow. The end of the world is probably next week because it seemed so desperate and so hopeless. But the reality is that I'm in the same world. Things have evolved, but every generations have their own thing. And, every 10 years, we think the end of the world is next month. And it's just, these things. But it's really about who you surround yourself with. And that's where I want to get, I guess. When you ask me pivotal moments, I don't know. I just know that in the last years, I started, surrounding myself with different people. And now I see the great side of it. And yes, you were a great addition in my life. And also the fact that we joined force together and decided like, okay, you do this, I'm doing this. So people, I would say my surroundings surrounding.
Yeah, your surroundings.
My
Yeah.
French is hitting me right now.
We understand. It's great that you talk in English and in French. I mean, I agree with you. I think the evolution of ourselves, right? The evolution of ourselves, and what is that moment where we decide that what we're doing, even if it's not a bad thing, like as we move and when we talk and hear people's stories of terrible times, right? The terrible times and what those terrible times taught us, and some of that stuff that comes with us. And what I love about what Elizabeth was sharing with us earlier, and some of the stuff that she does in her transformational work, is that, sometimes you can change the jacket, sometimes you can change the job, and sometimes you can change the relationship, right? And I mean, I'll be very transparent. It has been an evolutionary experience of me going from someone who didn't really think much of myself. And it's that same person sometimes before I get on stage and I'm like sick to my stomach. I can be 10 years old so fast my head could spin, right? And it's all the work that you do with people like Elizabeth, that when you get there, you go, okay, you 10-year-old, you just go over there. You just go take a seat in the back of the auditorium. And the 56-year-old woman who's been rocking it in her life this last while is going to get up on stage and go rock it for other people. I think not denying those parts of yourself, embracing those parts of yourself and moving yourself on, but understanding that as you move on, those pieces can come along with you. And just how loud are those voices? I certainly have been that's been an extreme part of my life. And I think when you hang out with people like you and Elizabeth, that those voices get smaller, but it's the work that gets done to thank you, but goodbye. Thank you, but goodbye, which allows us to attract different life, right? And we see it in everything that we do.
Yeah, actually, you know what? When I think about what you just said, brought back a memory. One person in a therapy told me this thing that really stuck with me. It's, when things are not going well, like when you're about to walk on a stage, you need to take the 5-year-old Carolyn, hold her in your arms and tell her, it's okay, I got this. I'm an adult now and I'm taking care of you.
Yeah.
It's like, so yes, you only get that as you grow, as you become the adult in yourself, not just by your birth certificate. You learn how to also nurture that part and say, it's okay, we got this, we're going to go talk on that stage. So, but why don't we bring in our main guest right now, who is so beautiful. For those of you who are not seeing it, well, you're missing out. No, just joking, it's a podcast. But welcome, Elizabeth Larson. Welcome to the True That Show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today. I'm so excited to be with both of you. You guys have been such an inspiration for so many people. And I'll tell you, when I got to meet you, I was just excited, and the conversations were just amazing. And I'm just so thankful to have you guys in my life now.
Well, interview's over, people. We're going to go have some drinks. So Elizabeth, I mean, one of the things that really stuck a chord with myself and Carolyn, and I think I can be transparent for both of us, is that you kind of had a little bit of a rocky start in life. And I think as people get to know myself and Caroline, and we choose when and how to leak out some things like that, who we just all decided who makes us now was where we came from before. So you've had a really colorful life. And the fact that you're transforming others, and you have such a desire for this sector, this business sector of network marketing and its relationship to self. Can you just kind of take us a little bit on a journey of where you started and kind of where you are?
Absolutely. And first of all, I got to say that this journey has been the most important thing. I mean, we look at success as, oh, we just made it. But when we don't tell the journey of how we got there and where we actually came from, we do a disservice, because that's what actually helps people, is talking about that journey. So I'm so excited to talk about this today. When I grew up in the 70s, and my grandmother was the one who was trying to raise me. I didn't have a father. My mom had some very severe mental health issues. And in the 70s, we didn't talk about that. You hid that behind closed doors. And she's wonderful now. We have a terrific relationship now, but back then she just could not handle life at all. And so I was the child who was thrown out of the bedroom anytime you went in to go see your mom because she just couldn't deal with anything at all. And my grandmother was very ill. She was sick with diabetes. She didn't really stick to her diet. And so she had her leg amputated. She's very, very, very ill. You know, I would watch her every single day crying at the kitchen table, just begging God to take her home. And so there wasn't a lot in this home environment for me. And so I always, you know, was trying to be out and trying to be away from there. And so I got bullied a lot and I got beat up a lot when I was a kid. And so I always thought like what Carolyn was saying, it's like, what is wrong with everybody? Why can people get away with this? And why is this okay to be like this? And it never really made sense to me. And so at the age of 13 years old, I was actually kidnapped. I was taken up into the mountains and I was raped. And so you have these very, very super traumatic things. And I remember out of that experience thinking, there is something absolutely wrong with me. If I have this kind of family life and these kinds of things are happening to me, there's something wrong with me. And from that moment, anything of self-worth that I had left was gone. It was just gone. And so growing up for me was just survival. That's it. That's all I wanted, was just to survive. And that's all it was. It was never a plan of, I'm going to be a successful businesswoman someday. It was never a plan because I never thought that that was available to me. There was something wrong with me that's available to other people, not to me. And so as I grew, I remember this in my 20s, I was in this really just abusive marriage. And I remember right at the end, towards my late 20s, I met this woman. And this woman didn't try to sell me on anything. She didn't, you know, she was just the neighbor's mother-in-law. And she would just come over and she would tell me stories. She would tell me stories of how bad her life was, and then how good her life was, and the things that she did to get there. And that's it. It was never anything else. And one day she made an offer and she's like, I'd love for you to go with me and do this spiritual journey with me. And I think it will help you. And I had to make a decision at that point. We talk about pivotal moments. That was one of the first ones for me. And it was like having somebody believe that my life could be different than what it was started me on this incredible journey. So I did like what Carolyn was talking about. I ended up getting to go back to school. I left school when I was in ninth grade, second week of the ninth grade, because at 15 years old, I had to live on my own. My grandmother died. I went into foster care. And the LA County foster care system is nowhere for anybody. Like, it's just awful. And so I made the decision. It was so bad that I didn't care. I was going to make it on my own. And so I left. I convinced a judge that my mom really did want me. She just couldn't show up. And somehow I remember him saying, you should be a lawyer. And he released me. And my mom, of course, didn't want me. And I got an apartment in this gang area. And I was waitressing at night, and I tried to put myself back into high school through the day. And I remember walking home at midnight by myself, just praying I would get home. So, you know, and the reason I tell this story is because I want people to understand that it does not matter where you come from. Where you come from does not affect where you can be at all, period. I'm living proof. It does not. But what you need is somebody to come alongside you and help you on that journey and be that cheerleader and help you know that you have that worth, that you have inside of you this beautiful person that can come out. And so on this journey, I did end up getting to go back to college. It was an amazing experience, graduated, and then went into the business world. And, you know, ladder to ladder, company to company and things, and found I had some natural talent for some stuff. And finally ended up a GM for a 3-star hotel. And, you know, if you think about that, that's an amazing career. Pays wonderful, terrific benefits, you know, but I was still working, you know, 60, 70 hours a week. And I thought, if this is making it, there's something wrong, you know, because I was exhausted. I was tired. I ended up through a divorce. I walked out of that relationship because I finally understood that I had some self-worth, that I could have a better life and that I deserved better than that. And at this point in time in my life, I was remarried, wonderful husband, but my marriage wasn't great because I was grouchy. I was tired. I was exhausted. I was working my rear off. And this other thing kept happening to me over and over again. I kept looking in the mirror and thinking, somebody's going to find out you're a phony. Somebody's going to find out you don't really belong here. Somebody's going to find out you're really not that terrific, that you really don't deserve this job. And it's this fear, and these fears bring on this self-sabotage and do these things. And so I had this pattern of making it really great in corporate and then self-sabotaging out and make it. And I had this pattern within myself because of this belief that someday somebody's going to figure out you're still that little girl that everybody said was worthless, that was no good, that, why were you even born, and all these things. And you finally get to a point where something's wrong and you don't know how to fix it. And all you can do inside is just finally just kind of surrender and just say, you know what? I don't know what it is, but God, I need help because I don't want to live life like this anymore. I don't know if that kind of answers the question or not. It was a little bit of a long version, but
no, I think it's such an important piece to your story is relatability on so many levels for people, whether it was experience or the feelings of that. If you kind of dig under the layers of many people, men and women, there can be these pivotal times where someone they've gone to for support has said, what? Or, I was listening to, Steve Harvey talk this morning on his first wife. He said more than one walked out on him when he decided to go into comedy and quit his job. And there's so many external situations that reflect our internal ability to care for ourselves. And we talked about that. A lot of times it's very different in terms of gender on how we look at things. A lot of times, I can't talk about what it's like to be a man because I'm not one, but as a woman, we tend to go, things aren't going well. What's wrong with me? Mm-hmm. Right. And then we track back that emotional baggage or what have you, if it hasn't been fully developed or fully healed or what have you. I think your story's an impeccable, important piece to where you got to, because it is a journey and it doesn't happen overnight. And me and Caroline were talking about that earlier on everything that's happening in our world of technology, and our teenagers are growing up thinking that things happen like this, right? Millionaire, billionaire, start an Instagram account and you're this and you're that. And you're giving the true grits of it. So no, that was compelling, actually, very compelling.
Thank
Caroline?
you. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing. Made me cry. But, and I know it's, you say it so intelligently and so well, like you're just telling a story, but I'm sure the emotions are still there. But for me, it really brings me back to that kid that we all carry, whether it's a 5-year-old, 10-year-old, 13-year-old. You had it really rough and no one ever told you, like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad you're here. And a lot of what we go through when we're kids, there's no words attached to it because, not all parents will be like, oh my gosh, why were you born? But the actions and being thrown one way and the other, but you start forming the opinion that you have no value. And I think that what's instilled in us as kids is the most powerful thing, because it's the one thing that will not leave us unless there's a lot of work put into. And yes, you had your moment of like, please God, help me. And that's amazing that you had that moment, because that's probably what made you turn around and say, find your worth. And along your path, you had people who believed in you, which is why it's so important to tell people, smile at people and just tell them encouraging words, because you might be the only person who said something encouraging that day or to a kid. But anyway, what I'm getting at as well is, you are so powerful. And one of the reason I think is all this survival puts something in you that you've learned to survive. So business after, it's just like, I'm okay, got this. Got this, because I've seen worse. But what I love about what you did, and you can talk a bit about, your work, how you went from corporate to network marketing. But what I really want you to talk about after is how you've chosen to put all of your experiences and your knowledge and things that you've learned that you cannot learn in book, and put it into an amazing coaching program that will actually, really help people, women, I think, that are more focused, but really transform. And, it's not just a transformation that we hear everywhere, like come here and in 30 days you'll be transformed. It's something that is really deep and it's anchored. It's like us as kids that need to finally grow up and become the adult that we biologically are.
Yes.
So,
It's so true. I have a friend, and she's at the top of her company. And we talk about how to this day, she still doesn't feel like a leader. To this day, she still feels at the same ways that I felt when I had made it into this business. When I went into, I'm this 3-star GM, just, I should be feeling all these wonderful things. And honestly, we take all of those things from when we were kids and all these things that have happened. And unfortunately, a lot of us bury them. We bury them, we stuff them, we ignore them, because we have to survive. We have to keep going. Or people don't let us understand that working those things out and coming to peace with those things actually can heal them, so you can really move forward. And so we get into these thoughts where, we've wired our brain towards this negativity. And for me, my journey, I was in corporate America, and my husband got sick, and he started dealing with some pretty bad health issues. And he was watching this blog. You're gonna laugh when you find out how I got into network marketing. he was reading this blog, and he said, honey, you need to read this. I want to try these. And I'm just like, I'm overworked. I'm busy. I'm tired. I'm like, I don't want to read anything, honey, but whatever. 2 weeks later, he's back on Facebook and saying, this is the day when people posted blogs on Facebook more. Today, it doesn't work like that so much. But so this person had posted another blog, and he's reading, and he reads the other blog, and he's like, honey, it's like 2 weeks later. He's like, you've really got to read this. You've really got to read this. And I read what she had wrote about, what it was, this product and things. And it made sense. When I went back to school, I ended up, loving science and brain chemistry and all that other stuff, just kind of fell in love with it. And it was all this stuff that it was like, it made sense. And so I read the rest of her website, and it made sense. And so we bought the kit, but we bought the kit because we wanted the discount, not because of a business or anything else. Didn't even really think much of it. Got the products, loved the products, and then was on a phone call with that person who wrote the things, and suddenly kind of discovered you could have a business. You could have a business like this. And I thought, as much as I was working, it's like, if I'm going to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week, I probably should start looking at working for myself, because this is not, you're exhausted. You're a slave to someone else. I mean, it was a great job, but so we started our journey in network marketing. And the funny thing was, I never realized what it was really going to do for me. It wasn't just a business. Yeah, I can go buy a franchise. I can do this. Okay. It's a business. But what network marketing did for me was it helped me understand how much I still had in me that I needed to work out, how much I needed to learn how to forgive because of the things that I had been through. When we talk about personal development in a box, That doesn't even come close to what this is. Because in any other industry, you can put on that phony face and pretty much get people to believe that you are successful, you're this and that and everything else. In network marketing, you really have to do the work inside. You have to do the internal work, because if you don't, because everything's on you. You may have a great upline, you may not. You may have people to work beside with, you may not. But ultimately, even if you do, that work internally is the thing that brings out the mastery of this business, the success of this business. And that's what I really learned. I thought, you just go sign people up. Oh, okay. Well, then I discovered I didn't really want to talk to people because I was still so hurt as from a child of getting hurt by people. How am I supposed to learn how to have relationships with people? How am I supposed to talk to people? How am I, what? And that was the first part with the first bingo that, oh my gosh, there's stuff in me that still needs to be worked out. And working through and learning that and forgiving and being able to learn how to walk into relationships. And now, oh my gosh, because of network marketing, I now have incredible relationships. And so learning this journey of all the self-development, I went to tons of events, and I know the world's kind of closed down right now, but the events helped me get out of my environment so I could see something different for my life and start putting things into process. And so I did tons of events. I did tons of personal development work with all of these people. And what I finally ended up realizing throughout all of this is that I did not believe I had value and worth still. And because I didn't believe I had value and worth, at first I was very struggling with my business a lot. And that was the next thing that had to be fixed, because I couldn't put on that phony face anymore. And in that journey, I can to this day, by the way, I can actually say, I can look in the mirror and say, I love myself. For the first time. And this was just recently in the past 2 years that I was able to do this. And it was my journey through network marketing and the personal development that I had to do to become successful that helped me be able to get there, because it ended up for me a healing journey. It ended up healing the things that were said over me, rewiring my brain in a way that I didn't automatically go to the negative anymore. Learning how to have empowered relationships. And I was able to do this so well. And then I was working with teams so much that I ended up going corporate. And then I started a business. And I started a business of being able to, please forgive my phone. I do not know why it's doing that. Always when there's a podcast, right? But I ended up starting a business and then came to contact mapping. And through that entire journey, being able to help people with the same thing as I did, transform their lives, but not that, like you said, 30 days, your life's going to be better. And it doesn't quite work like that. In 30 days, you'll probably see movement on the internal stuff that you've been working on. Absolutely. But for me, my journey was a journey of not just self-development, but learning how to love myself, learning how to understand my value, learning how to have great boundaries, learning how to listen and help other people, and learn how to do all of that with joy and love and peace. And that is probably the biggest thing I got out of network marketing. Money's fantastic, don't get me wrong, but when you can live a life that you really love, where you have the peace and the joy and the love and the relationships and the fun and people around you that really love you and care about you and that you really love and care about, that's priceless.
So Elizabeth, thank you so much for that. It's really, it's a very encompassing story, right? And we hear a lot in this industry, and myself and Caroline, and you soon to be an author in 20 Powerful Women in Network Marketing Tell All. You clearly have a beautiful story to share. We hear so many times in this industry that network marketing is personal development with a product. It's network personal development in a box, personal development in, and everybody has their story. Everybody has their journey. It really is a self-directed business. And so whether you're looking at it where it triggers stuff from past history, which you've experienced, or even the person coming in that may not even know what their issue is. And like, you know, you do transformation coaching, you've got a lot of experience in the back end of strategies and setups. Maybe talk a little bit about that side of it, the linear side to direct sales, because so many people come in and they are at a loss and they might have good self-esteem. I just did a training on this. They got great self-esteem. I call it, you know, self-esteem and business esteem. And they sink a little because they don't know how to build a business. And they see people on stage, you know, whether it's 6-figure, 7-figure, and it seems so vastly apart from who they are, it sinks them a little bit. So you've had this great experience in the infrastructure of how to make achievement that way. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, a lot of times we're told, you know, in fact, you know what it reminds me of? When I first started, I decided to build a business. I remember saying to the person, what do I say? And the person said to me, oh, you'll figure it out. And that's all I got, you know? And so it's like starting with no knowledge of no nothing. And ultimately for me, I'm so thankful for my corporate experience, because in corporate, we knew that if you wanted somebody to be successful in their position, you trained them, you helped them, you put systems in place and things like that. One of the problems I still see though, is that, okay, here's a system, but is it a system that they can, I like to put it this way, whatever you build with, you're going to have to maintain with. So you need to be in authentic connection with what you're doing. And so if you're a person who can go do a 90-day blitz and then take that time off and go back and forth, perfect. But if you're not that person, then you need to find systems that are actually going to work for your team. And so for us, one thing we always talk about is meeting and mapping at least 2 new people every day. And we set up these simple systems. And the simplest of things, but consistency is the key. And it doesn't matter what it is. It's weight loss, it's building your business, it's changing your mindset. Anything else is all about consistency. And I think for the people that come into this business, one of the things that's hard is that they don't know what they're doing. They're given a system, and then they're not in total authentic agreement with the system. And then they shut down, like you said. They shut down in their heart instead of talking to somebody and saying, this isn't working for me. I need to find the thing that will work for me. And that's what I ended up doing. I was very blessed that I finally just said, I need to find what works for me. And for me, it ended up being the authentic connection and doing consistent work each and every day in a very simple system, because it ended up being duplicatable and something that most people could do. Now, if people want to do more than that, perfect. But the first thing I always try to find out, it's like, if you absolutely hate social media and you're going to throw up every time you're going to go on social media, that may not be the best place to start. Let's start with what you're really good at. Dr. Carolyn Leaf, I don't know if you guys know her, but she wrote this book, The Gift in You, amazing woman. She talks about how in neuroscience, that if we focus on the thing that we're not doing well, all the other areas will start going down further. But if we find the things that we're really, really good at and start with that part first, how even places like math and other areas will start increasing naturally, because that one confidence builder right in there. So what I love to do is find somebody and find the person and be like, and long questionnaire, but what is it? Find out what is it that's in their heart? What do they love to do? What are they passionate about? And then help that put together with their business. Because the thing I love about network marketing is, yes, we need systems and we absolutely need to be duplicatable, but that doesn't mean that we can't have a personality in it. That doesn't mean that we can't be our true selves in it. And I think when we're able to be our true selves, with a system, there's magic in that. There's magic in the consistency. There's magic in being able to be who you really are. And once you get that feeling, you never want to give that up. You never want to give that up. I don't know if did that answer your question?
It does, but there's the only thing that I would add to this is that, you know, you also, network marketing is a beautiful industry, but you also have to be in the right company. You also have to be with a product that you identify to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's some people that I know, like some very powerful women that I know and I admire. I could not see myself in their business, and I don't understand what attracted them, but they're super successful, and they don't understand why I'm in my business. You know, so it's also crucial to be at the right place, and what you're saying as well, to have system and be duplicable and everything. And complete side note, you need to do an audiobook about how to calm down and everything. I will listen to it to fall asleep, because your voice is so soothing and calming and reassuring. So I don't know, you were made for radio or to be a singer or something, but I mean, your voice is gorgeous. So, but besides that, I want to talk about, and you know, just for that, I would take your coaching class just to sit and listen. But talk to us a little bit about, you know, all of this experience and wisdom, how it brought you to actually, you know, put this transformation program together. Because I think that, first of all, you're a living proof of transformation. You chose to transform your life at some point, not because it wasn't successful, but because you wanted it to be happy as well. Because, you know, what we show on the outside and what's actually going on the inside can be a lot of people, actually. Like when you really start talking with people, a lot of people, it's two different things. So to bring this back in sync, and that's actually what you're really looking to pass on. So can you talk a bit about that program?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And first, you know, real quick, I'd love to say you are so right about a product, because if you do not identify with that product or you do not like that product, it's going to halt you in your business so much. So you are one, that was perfect, because I don't think people, you know, understand that enough, that you have to have the belief in the company and you have to have the belief in the product. And if you don't, that's going to be a big stopping point. So thank you for mentioning that. You know, for me, I feel like I was given a huge gift in my life. Being able to get where I am right now with the blessings of the people that helped me along the way. I can't imagine if I had to have lived my life the way it was before for the rest of my life. I look back now and think, oh my gosh, how awful would that have been? You know, but again, it's those pivotal moments. It's those moments that change things. And so for me, what I realized along the way is that internally, we still have these beliefs that came along with us from situations, that came along with us from our families, came along with us from our upbringing. We have those. We have the baggage and the suitcases that we keep from relationships, from jobs, from things that we didn't quite work out. But the problem is that when we go into something else, we expect that to be brand new. And unfortunately, we take ourselves with us. And so in developing this program, it's a lot of what happened with me and what I had to do to finally start changing. It was the neuroscience, you know, the learning the things in this research. And I'm a research hound. And I know it sounds terrible, but one of my favorite things to do is I'll think of something and then I'll research it down. And 2 hours later, I'm like, oh, I didn't realize it had been that long. And most of it's like brain chemistry and just nerdy stuff that I don't know, I just fell in love with. But what I did was I took all of the experience that I had been through and everything I had learned along the way, and all of the science behind it that helped me change myself. And I put it together in a way that helps people go step by step. Because we tell people to do vision boards and we tell people, make this vision board of what you want your life to be like and everything else. What we don't realize is that there's a lot of people out there who can't even make a vision board because they can't even take that step. So what I did was I found a way to break it down into smaller steps where we focus just on the next step. We have this big dream of this goal and out here, and that's great. But what's the next step? What's the next thing? How do we become the person who can look in the mirror and say, I love you? How do we become the person who says, I am worthy? How do we have good boundaries? Because as women, a lot of us grew up and we were told that you self-sacrifice and you do all these things and this is what being a woman is. And a lot of us have bad boundaries. And you can't have bad boundaries and be successful in business. You can't have bad boundaries and be successful in life. But how do you have healthy boundaries in a loving way? And how do you have those authentic relationships? And so what I did is I took everything that I've been through and everything I had to learn and do, and I made it a simpler process because it took me 20 years to get here. I don't ever want anybody to have to spend 20 years to get to a life that they love. But had I had a system, a specific help in this, instead of just periodic, just a person would pop into my life and create that pivotal moment, that's what I really had. But what if you had somebody who would help you? What if you had somebody who actually could help you see vision for your life when you can't see it for yourself? What if you had somebody who could recognize the struggles and recognize those things that, oh, this is a place where we'll want to start working on next. This is the thing that you'll want to start doing next. What if you had that person that walked along the side of the road with you that way? We talk about baseball people and coaches and basketball people and all this, and all these teams, they have somebody training them. They have somebody showing them their direction because they know what they want in their lives. Why wouldn't we do that? If we want to be just as successful, why wouldn't we do the same thing? And yet most people think they can transform on their own. It took me 20 years. I did it. I don't want it to take 20 years for anybody else, though. And I'll be honest with you, I never, ever want a woman to ever feel the way I did in my life ever again. And if I can do anything about that, I'm going to.
That's incredible. And, as you're talking, one of the things that, one of the when you go back and you were talking about how this woman was the mother-in-law to your neighbor and was just showing you a different life, right? Was just showing you a different way of being, that she kind of had something by the time that she had asked you if you wanted to engage in something that she was doing, whether it was a spiritual workshop or a business class or whatever it was that she was going to take you to. It could have been a Tupperware party. Doesn't matter. You had, you saw something that you wanted, you felt something that you wanted. And so the invitation really was there. And when you were telling that story, I was like, oh, that woman was an earth angel. Like I call them earth angels, without connotation. It's like, and Caroline talked about like smile at somebody. You might be that inspiration. You might say those words. And with you sharing that, you don't want anyone to go through that. You want people. And honestly, I think people are very thirsty for what you have. When you talk about it took you 20 years, I know Caroline had her story as well of how many years, and we had how many years. And what flashed through my head is, when people like icons like Oprah came onto the scene and the massive success she had right away, because people were so thirsty, because the generations that we're talking about, these were not accessible. Like they were not accessible. No one said to me when I was in high school, I think you need a counselor. You got some funky stuff going on at home. We can tell what's going on at home. I think you need a counselor. These were not resources that were readily available. And the reason why I think someone like yourself is having the success in your coaching is because we're all ready and we don't want it. And you've got parents that are really conscious of, you'll hear parents saying, I don't want that again for my, so we get our kids counselors and we get them programs and we get them this, and there's a whole wave of evolution that's happened. And I do believe people like you are going to shorten the pain span, right? Shorten the pain span. And it is going to be very interesting what the next, I would say 4 or 5 to 10 years is going to look like as a level of consciousness, because people like there's not going to be any shame in reaching out for any help. No, there's going to be no more shame in reaching out. And I think we're going to really diminish those shame little, things inside people. You're so needed. I've got to ask you, obviously we're going to be wrapping up our podcast here. Where can people reach you? And I know that, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pass it over to Caroline. I'm going to let her ask last question because she likes to do that to me. So I'm going to throw the pot in her direction. Is there anything else that you would like to add to that?
You're doing that because you know that because of timing, I will ask the last question and you will still close it and have the last word, you know, but it's okay. It's okay. No, I just want to add, you know, you talk about it so well, but there's a huge thing that you had that it also takes its courage and bravery. And, you know, when you're in low moments, we all have at some point this little shining light that says, maybe I can. So if ever you are in a situation where, you know, it's not going the way you want, when that little light comes on, right away, reach out, because yes, it's so important. And back in my days, only the weirdos would see a therapist. Now it's like, well, the weirdos still do. Not you, Deb. But I mean, you know, it's just, now it's called self-care. And having a coach, I love the analogy you did there, that a good basketball team, you know, they have a great coach. And you don't wonder like, wow, you guys can't play on your own? You're losers? You're like, no, good, you have a good coach. So yes, and I'm the one who never really had a coach. So my mind is going there more and more about like, you know, it's so important. So I really encourage everyone to reach out to you. And please let us know, where can we reach out to you?
Well, two ways, or a couple ways actually. My website, elizabethlarson.net. It's Larson with an O, so LARSON .net, or Instagram. Reach out to me through Instagram or Facebook. And you know, Carolyn, you said something that was so important at the beginning of the podcast. You were talking about how the people around us are the most important thing. You know, we could have, and sometimes we don't have great people around us. We don't have people around us that believe in us. We have people around us who say, this is the status quo. This is the way we are. This is the way things are. You can never have anything better. Nothing like that. And the thing I want to make sure that people realize is that you may be stuck in that family situation. You may be stuck in these areas where you have no good support around you. But that doesn't mean that you can't have great support by just having that one person who can help you see vision and walk alongside you. And if you have that one person can be enough to help you begin to change your entire life. So don't think just because you're surrounded by negative people, I do not know why I keep doing that. I'm so sorry. Just because you're surrounded by negative people does not mean that that's the way your life has to be for the rest of your life. One really great person in your life can help you begin that journey. And so thank you for mentioning that earlier, because that was amazing. But yes, elizabethlarson.net, or reach out to me through Instagram or Facebook. Love messages from people. Would love to chat with anyone.
You're a pleasure. Go ahead, Deb, close the show.
No, I wasn't going to say anything, except I believe, Elizabeth, you had shared with us earlier that if you have a little nice gift for a couple of people if they reach out to you.
Yes.
So for the first two people that reach out to Elizabeth and inquire about her transformational work, she is going to be doing some gifting for you. So if you are interested in hanging out with this woman and learning more about what she has to say, please just let her know that you saw her on the True That show and that she has a nice little special gift for you. So that's it. That's all I got, Caroline. That's it, folks.
So thank you, and we'll see you all next week. And thank you so much, Elizabeth Larson. Thank you, Deborah Drummond. And we'll see you next week.
All right.